Good evening, I'm Will Burlock, teacher in computing, and I'd like to welcome you to the 1/6 Form College's Cyber Safety event. This evening we have presentations from Sarah Warnes, who is the 1/6 Form College Safeguarding Ambassador, as well as a designated Safeguarding Lead, John Greenwood, Cybersecurity Advisor for Norfolk and Suffolk Constabularies, Dave Leighton-Scott, Further and Higher Education Prevent Coordinator for the East of England, Lauren Thomas, who is a Learning Resource Centre Administrator here at One, Claire Darwin, Service Lead, Suffolk Psychology and Therapeutic Services. You can use the chat facilities to ask any questions, and we have various members of One on site, as well as Dave Leighton-Scott and John Greenwood, who will be available to answer questions as best we can. We hope you enjoy the evening, and I will now pass you on to Sarah Warnes, who will give you an overview of safeguarding at One.
Thank you, Will. Here at Suffolk One, we take our duty to protect the young people very seriously, and we have 5 designated safeguard leads within college. You can see us all there. George Tittock-Nash is our lead designated safeguard officer for the college. As designated safeguard leads, we are responsible for making sure that college is following policies and procedures and updating those procedures and policies. We make sure that we're working if any of the laws change around keeping children safe whilst they're at college, or young people safe at college. We also have a role in training and updating other members of staff, so all our teaching staff and all our support staff. We have a duty rota, so there is always somebody that is responsible, and that includes weekends as well. Okay, so as I said, as designated safeguard leads, we have to keep abreast of changes within legislation as well. And legislation that's updated on a pretty much yearly basis, in order to make sure that we are doing the very best to protect and support our students, our young people. And one of the biggest pieces of legislation that we work to is a document called Keeping Children Safe in Education. It tends to get updated every year. And in the last one, although there wasn't a lot of changes and updates, one of the biggest things that they did was they changed the definition of safeguarding, and they now mention specifically mental and physical health. And we feel that, our staff are well placed to identify behaviour that is suggestive that a mental health issue is going on, and also to make referrals for some early help as is required. We do have a whole school safeguarding culture, which is something that came in with the Keeping Children Safe in Education update. And we talk about something now which is contextual safeguarding, which is thinking about not just what's happening within college, but within families, within communities, with peers. It's a much bigger picture and a much more holistic view of safeguarding. There is also a changes in the emphasis on how important governors are to ensure that our safeguarding policies are robust. There has been new revised definitions of terrorism when we're thinking about radicalisation. There's been definitions of peer-on-peer abuse, which has widened, and as a result, we are looking as designated safeguard leads and within the governance role, we're looking at updating our policy to reflect that. We have to make sure that we recruit safely. We've always done that, But now, whereas we may have used to rely on the agencies to sort out the safeguarding for supply teachers, we now as a college have a responsibility for that. And the DSL, the designated safeguarding lead, has a responsibility that any child that's got a social worker has to be monitored, and we must continue to set high aspirations for those young people. So what other things do we have at college? Well, one of the things that we're doing with online, which is often a concern around e-safety, is we use a system called Lightspeed. And Lightspeed produces, it looks for keywords, it might look for words that may indicate radicalisation or extremism is going on, and it will send a report once a week to our head DSL, George. She can then look at that, and along with the IT department, she assesses any risks, and that will be followed up. It's not just about assessing the risk, but followed up if there's a concern. So, as I say, under the new Keeping Children Safeguarding updates, it's really important that we have governance around policies and safeguarding at college. And we actually have a trustee for safeguarding, and her name is Karen Points. And Karen sits within the whole trust, so that includes the other colleges within our trust. So one of the things that we do as DSLs, and then to inform our staff, is we look at what are the current issues. This goes alongside that contextual safeguarding thing as well. You know, what have we got going on in our local area that we need to protect our students or inform our students how to protect themselves? We work very closely with the police force, and they will notify us of anything that they are concerned about or that seems to be on the increase. We come under the boundary of Hadley, and the top most reported crimes can be seen there as violent and sexual offences. So we can do some work around young people protecting themselves, but also making sure that young people are comfortable enough to talk to one of the members of staff, whether it be their PPT or a member of teaching staff, if anything is going on with them. Radicalisation and extremism, there has been, especially around the COVID situation, there has been concerns that radicalisation and extremism is actually on the increase at the moment, particularly from the right wing. And the one that I think most people are aware of now is County Lines, and we do have contact with Suffolk gang workers as well. And we're now handing over to John Greenwood. Thank you.
My name is John Greenwood. I'm a cybersecurity advisor working for Norfolk and Suffolk Constabulary. Based in Halesworth, I work for the cybercrime unit and we cover both forces. So I'm here today to talk to you about cyber choices, what the program is, the law around computers and computer misuse, and also highlight some career opportunities as well. So I'm going to stop my video, maximize the screen, and hopefully we can get started. So first question, what is Cyber Choices? Cyber Choices is a national scheme. It's run and coordinated by the National Crime Agency. There is a Cyber Choices officer in every county in the UK. I cover Norfolk and Suffolk. It's a national programme with the aim of trying to reduce cybercrime before it happens ultimately. So we do that two ways. One is we provide awareness around the law, the legal and illegal actions, and highlight careers opportunities and resources. That's at things like schools, youth groups and things like that. The second is we work with young people who might be considered vulnerable or have committed low-level cybercrime to try and divert them onto a more productive route using educational visits, awareness around the law, workshops, online training, to hopefully move them away from potentially committing illegal activity to make them interested, if they are, in the sector and gain successful employment in IT and cyber. So the average age of someone who has committed a cybercrime in the UK is 17 and a half. So that's why I focus mostly on youth school groups and things like that. As I say, the aim is to try and prevent people from getting involved in cybercrime, and that's at all different levels. And we use the legal and ethical skills. So the idea is not to say never do it again. It's to say, oh, that's a really interesting skill, but did you know you're breaking the law? Talk to them about the law, and then point them at some places where they could go to develop those skills legally, and hopefully encourage them into a career in the sector. So generally, when we spoke to people who've committed cyber offences, financial benefit isn't the main aim, isn't their main driving factor initially, at least. It's more about the challenge. They're trying to get round a problem. They see it as a problem to solve. And because of that, a common pathway into cybercrime is gaming. So we're not saying by any means that every gamer is going to become a cyber criminal, but what we're saying is gaming, if you move into cheats and mods, them in themselves may not be illegal. So it depends on the game that the mods are in. So Minecraft, for instance, creating mods is part of the game. That's fine. But those mods are problem solving. They are, working how to interact with systems and create solutions. So it is that mindset. And then potentially from there, you move into forums because you want to see how you can get a free Netflix account and those sorts of things. And that might move you into the more illegal areas of cybercrime. So I'm going to talk a little bit around the law. There's 3 main acts. So Section 1 is unauthorized access to computer material. So the word unauthorized is key here. If someone says you can have access to it, then you've got permission. In the top right, you can see the maximum prison sentence. This is the Computer Misuse Act. It was written in 1990. It has been updated a number of times. So an example of Section 1 is someone sees their friend log into their phone. They see the PIN. The friend leaves the room, leaving the phone on the table. They then use a PIN to get into the phone. And they have a look around, download some pictures. Okay, so that would be a Section 1 offence. Section 2 is similar, but extends on that. So unauthorized acts with intent to commit further offences. So you've got some examples here where they gain access to the phone again, and then they log into some of their banking app or something like that. Or another, they might go on their social media and post some hateful comments. Okay, so a more severe case because there is intent to go and commit further offences. So that's why the sentence is up to 5 years there. And then Section 3, unauthorized, again, acts with intent to impair or with recklessness to impair the operation of a computer. So this is things like a virus or ransomware or a DDoS attack. So I'm going to talk about DDoS briefly because that's quite a common action that I see, or common thing I see in schools at the moment. So an example of this would be a person playing a game online and they want to knock someone else off the game. And to do that, they'd use a booter tool, which is a DDoS tool, which basically shuts down the other person's internet connection. It kicks them off. So a DDoS works by having too many requests coming into the target, i.e. the friend on the game, that the computer can't handle it, so it just falls off the internet. Okay, so this is up to 10 years. Obviously, it depends how often you do it, how many people and who the target is and things like that. So some examples I think would be useful. So we've covered this, stressor or booter. So it has different terms, and that's important for the example. Use of all of those tools is illegal. You don't need the technical ability to make those tools. They are available on the internet for hire. You normally pay a small fee, say this is the target, press go, and it will launch the attack for a period of time, depending on how much money you paid. Unfortunately, by doing that, the money you're paying is going into organised crime. Okay, and you're still committing offence because it might not be your tool, but you are using that tool to target someone or something, normally a website or a person. So here's an example. This is a young man locally from Hertfordshire. He was tried under Section 3 and Section 3A because he wrote a tool. So he wrote his own DDoS tool and was using it with their friends. and it proved quite popular among them, and then it got out of control, and then he realized he could make some money, so he started charging for it. So he committed a Section 3 and a 3A offence, and he got 2 years in prison. His tool was used for 1.7 million attacks. He himself used it for almost 600 attacks. Okay, so there's some big organizations there that obviously had quite a big impact. So for instance, a university, if it targeted their website, the website would go down. Now with COVID, if people were working remotely and they targeted that as well, they wouldn't be able to log in. So potentially quite a large impact there. And then 3A, we touched on in the last one. This is where you make or you supply or you obtain articles. So it doesn't matter if you make the tool or you download the tool, you're still committing a Section 3A offence. And that on its own is up to 2 years. So I think, again, examples are really useful. So here's another one. This is, again, quite a young person, created some software to harvest people's usernames and passwords for popular cloud service sites, where you normally pay a subscription to access the content. He did basically a fake website where they'd think they'd be logging in, and then he'd claim their details, and then he'd use the service. So that's why it's unauthorized access, and he wrote the tool. And that was a 6-month sentence. Okay, so consequences. A visit, a warning could be arrest, it could be having devices seized, could be a sentence, young offenders or prison. Permanent criminal record, that tends to be the thing that people don't think about, how that could impact them in the future. So we're all about trying to, give young people, give everyone the information about the Computer Misuse Act so they're better informed. A lot of the time when I speak to young people, they go, "Oh, I didn't think that would be a crime." Okay, so it's more about knowledge and getting that knowledge out there. So hopefully that's given a bit of a picture around the legal side and the law side. I just briefly want to touch on the opportunities, because there is lots of opportunities. These skills that I've been talking around here, around solving problems, getting round problems, they are really sought after. Okay, and there's some stats here, but the average salary, this was checked at the end of last year, £62,500. So very significant pay. Obviously, you need qualifications, you need experience. You don't necessarily need to go to university if you've got the experience that you can showcase. And it is a sector where there's lots of available resources out there which are free or very cheap to access to develop those skills. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of those areas. These are government resources, but there is lots of others out there, and you can visit cyberchoices.uk and find other sites. So there's lots of self-development sites, but these 3 are government approved, they're government run, and they're all online to some degree. So Cyberland, which is part of the Cybersecurity Challenge, is currently live. I don't know how much longer for, but it's 16 online interactive games, sort of gamification to learn about coding, cybersecurity, encryption, code breaking, that sort of thing. And you can see the different age range for different things. Cyber First, they do a range of free courses, 1 to 5 days during the summer normally, and they're going to be going live for registration in April. And again, they're run by people from industry and GCHQ, and to teach you and develop skills. There's also degree apprenticeships and bursaries available there. And then cyber discovery. Now, schools often do cyber discovery. The IT or computing groups may well do it. There's different stages, and you can move through, potentially get into national finals and things like that. So, some really good resources out there. All of those are government, all of those are free, but you can find more information on the Cyber Choices website as well. So hopefully that's been useful from the law and the Cyber Choices side. I just want to touch very briefly on the Cyber Protect side, which is another role I do. So here are 6 top tips around cybersecurity. So use strong separate passwords. If you reuse your password and you lose control of it, then someone could potentially get into all of your accounts. And government guidance is free random words. So we often think a random string of characters is really good. Well, it is, but it's really difficult for us to remember. So free random words that aren't related to you, they're not your surname or your house name, and then you can add complexity. You can often build that into a story, which might help you remember it. But hopefully you could use a password manager or a web browser to remember those passwords for you. Use two-factor authentication, sometimes called MFA or multi-factor authentication. This is where you try and log in and it sends a code to your phone, or you have to open an app on your phone. If you have strong separate passwords and 2FA, you're much less likely to be a victim of cybercrime. Update your devices. Hopefully this happens automatically. Back up your data. Think what data is most valuable to you and which you would be most upset if you lost, and then think how much you could afford to lose. Would it be a week of photos? What is your limit? And then back up suitably. And again, just some resources around the Cyber Protect side. There's Cyber Aware, which is the government campaign, which are those 6 points I've just mentioned. Really good tips on there. Have I been pwned? It's not a government site, but you can use that to put your email address in and see if you've been any data breaches. And a data breach is basically where you've signed up to a site or a service and they've had their data stolen and some of your data is in there. So for instance, you might sign up to a website with your name, address and email address and home address and password, and they may lose control of that and it might be floating around on the internet. And if you do, you may well be on a number of pwned sites. It's not a problem. Just make sure you never use those passwords again and reset those accounts. And then finally, action fraud. So action fraud is the central reporting method for all fraud and cybercrime in the UK. You can report that online or via phone. And then finally, just a thank you for me. There is some cybercrime advice on the Suffolk Police website. You can get in contact cyber choices at Norfolk or at suffolk.police.uk, and follow on Twitter as well if you're so inclined. Anyway, I hope that's been useful. I hope you've got lots of questions for me. Thanks very much.
Hi, I'm Dave Leighton-Scott, and I'm a Regional Further and Higher Education Prevent Coordinator, and I cover the East of England. I work for the Department for Education. My role is to support further and higher education institutions in the region in carrying out their statutory prevent duties. So what is prevent? Prevent is about safeguarding and supporting those vulnerable to radicalisation. It is one of the elements of the government's counter-terrorism strategy, with the aim to stop people becoming terrorists and supporting terrorism. It's a community safeguarding programme which has 3 strands. It responds to the ideological challenge from terrorism and aspects of extremism and the threat from those who promote these views. It provides practical help to prevent people being drawn into terrorism and ensure they are given appropriate advice and support. It works with a wide range of sectors, including education, criminal justice, faith, charities, health and local authorities when there are risks of radicalisation that we need to deal with. All of this can sound pretty daunting, and to further help understand Prevent, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you to a website launched in December 2020 called Act Early. The website looks at how a friend or relative can seek support for somebody they know who they believe may be at risk of being radicalised, and how this support can safeguard and help that person. This is not about criminalising the individual. The website is easy to navigate and has sections which discuss various topics. For example, spotting the signs, which looks at how family and friends are often the first to see concerning changes as to the behaviour and demeanour in a friend or relative, and how and why an early intervention to seek support can be crucial. Support looks at the organisations involved in Prevent that can reach out to a vulnerable individual, as well as signposting online organisations that can offer further advice and guidance. Working together describes how these organisations combine, and the role of the Channel Panel, which is a multi-agency safeguarding board which exists in every local authority and oversees many of the prevent-related referrals in its area. In advice, this section offers guidance as to how you can help a person you may have concerns over, as well as offering advice as to staying safe online. Real Stories offers accounts from individuals and families who have experienced the issue of radicalisation and how they were supported. Real examples from people who were helped at a time of vulnerability. The website has contact details whereby concerns can be shared in confidence with specially trained staff. If possible, please take the time to visit the website and familiarise yourself with the issues involved. I look forward to seeing you at the Cyber Safety webinar. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lauren and I work here at Suffolk One in the LRC as an administrator. I help support our team on Twitter and Instagram, sharing information as well as providing information for our students about cyber safety and how to keep themselves safe online. So I'm going to share with you now a presentation about cyber safety. So we've highlighted as a team that there are three main areas we wanted to provide for our students more information about, and these are fake news, influencers, and targeted marketing. We're aware that fake news has been a hot topic of conversation, particularly around our politics recently, and we wanted students to be aware that there is misleading information out there that is presented as real factual news. I mean, social media has had a huge impact on the way in which we consume our news, and we wanted our students to be aware that not everything shared online is the truth. So we've created these reliable checklists in order for them to see whether their information is being published by reputable sources, whether they can trust the news sites that they're viewing these news pieces on, whether their username or profiles that they recognise, if it's a celebrity, do they have a blue tick, whether the images or videos are backed up, if they have sources of where they've been taken from, also whether the URLs are trustworthy, not only for students' coursework and work in college, but also for the news that they intake. And how many times has this post been shared or liked? We obviously are aware that that doesn't necessarily correlate with whether it's fact or fiction, but that can also be an indicator. Reality TV and influencers have been a huge part of our young people's lives as well as ours, and we're aware that it's the age of the influencer. Lots more people are aspiring to be influencers themselves, as well as being totally wrapped up in what influencers are doing, whether this be in magazines, TV, or on social media. But we're aware that actually, although these influences can be positive, they can have negative effects as well. And we wanted our students to be aware that they need to take the things they see from influencers with a pinch of salt, that the pictures they see online are most probably edited or filtered, that the ads that they're sharing are probably ads that the influencer is being paid to present. And actually, maybe if they had a choice in the matter, would they still be advertising that product? We're also aware that social media makes these things a lot more accessible and much more easier for us to compare our lives to their lives. However, they need to know that it's often a snapshot of the reality of what might actually be happening. And although they may look at these things with rose-tinted glasses, it's not always what it might seem. We know this can have a negative effect on young people's self-esteem and mental health. So we want them to remember that they can choose whether they follow these people, that they have the ability to unfollow them, whether they are genuine, nice people or maybe not. If they're having a negative effect on them, that it's important that they choose to follow positive influences. They also need to know that these pictures are selected, that they've been purposely chosen in order to make us feel certain ways. So we hope that our young people can recognise positive influence for them and take away any negative influence that they might receive on social media. Another way which they are being targeted is through advertisements. Now, a lot of third-party data providers can use information that we put into our browsers from our cookies. They can access age, location, genders, and other bits of information. Now, this can be positive if it's reminding you to buy that new sweater that you've been wanting to buy that's in your basket. However, we know that not everything that we Google or search online is a positive thing. And to have these things pop up and be a reminder to us can cause for our young people some trauma or just unwelcome reminders. So we wanted our young people to be aware that they can access devices that help filter out these advertisements, that they can use ad blockers to prevent them being bombarded by things that they don't need to be seeing. Campaign that we've really liked as a team is the anti-bullying allegiance, something that the likes of Prince William has got behind, as well as other celebrities, and a lot of young people have responded really well to this advertisement campaign. So it's the Stop, Speak, Support campaign. So first off, stop. Take the time out before getting involved and don't share or like negative comments. We're making sure that actually, is this something that our community wants us to be a part of? And getting our young people to not only see things from their own perspective, but from other people's as well, and how that can be misinterpreted online. We're making sure that our young people speak, that they're asking the adults or friends that they can trust for advice, that they're reporting anything that doesn't look right, whether that's on the See Up button or through different social medias, individual reporting schemes, as well as not only that, they can be supported and speak to charities about the situations if they don't feel that they can talk to people in college. Of course, we as a team feel that we'd like to think that any student can come up to us and share with us, but we can also signpost them to our student support workers. And finally, support. Letting them know that they are not alone in what they're feeling. We're encouraging our students to talk to people that they can trust, like before, whether that's from a charity or someone in college, and letting them know that they're not alone in what they're doing and that we are here for them. These are just a few reminders of some of the places that our students can look to if they need more support. I'm now going to share with you a video from the charity about what some of the students thought about the campaign that they'd created. Thank you for listening.
Stop, Speak, Support. So we wrote a poem and it's all surrounded by choosing respect, and even though people have differences, you shouldn't target people for their different, just accept who they are.
Yeah, I think what's like great about this campaign, this like anti-bullying campaign, it's not all about like whether you have to like someone. It's more just like you have to accept that they're a human being and they have their own feelings, and just not try and abuse that.
Oh, writing the poem as a group was fun.
It wasn't,
was
especially
fun.
in our group, because we split into like several subgroups, and we actually were in the same group when we were writing.
And every time we got an idea, we'd be like, oh!
Yeah, we would like gas each other.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think personally to me, it's we won't like everyone, we don't always agree, because that's like, it kind of rounds it all up, where like, you can think like, oh yeah, you have to respect someone, but by putting it in that manner, like, you don't have to like them, but you do have to respect them. Like, it kind of relates to you, and it's more like, oh yeah, I understand that, then people just saying respect someone no matter what.
Yeah.
To us, these are our voices. So everything that you guys will hear is from us.
Yeah.
We've all said it, we've all said what we wanted, we've all said what we believed, and we've really translated that into a poem that we're all so proud of. And I think the main thing is that it is from young people. And I know for a fact, hearing it from someone that I'm influenced by, hearing that their experience and what it feels like to be bullied or how they overcome it, that's the most inspiring thing to me.
Yeah.
So if it's anyone coming from anyone that has a place of power or has a voice to young people or anybody, that's going to hit home to me.
Yeah.
Definitely, 100%. That's why I feel like it's so important that we need people to get involved. And so not only this year for Anti-Bullying Week, we'll be choosing respect, we're choosing respect all around, every time, every
All
day,
every day,
single day.
24/7,
Exactly.
365.
Exactly, that's exactly what we're doing, innit?
Yeah.
So that's the main thing about the campaign. We just wanted to encourage young people to choose respect.
Yeah.
Like, we're not always going to have the same views or the same opinions, but we can still go and talk about the person in a respectful approach, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly, and I think that's the most important thing in getting to young people.
Yeah, definitely.
Stop.
Speak. Support.
Hello everyone, my name is Claire Darwin and I'm the Principal Educational and Child Psychologist in Suffolk County Council, and I'm leader of the Psychology and Therapeutic Services. We work to support children and young people from early years right up to the age of 25. So it's a really warm welcome to this pre-recorded session. I'm going to show you a broad overview of our services and share with you how you can find out more about our work. So I'll explain who we are in our team, what we do, and I'm also going to share with you one of our programmes that we're working on at the moment, which is to support wellbeing in education. So in our psychology and therapeutic services, there's a range of skills and therapeutic areas that we work within, from the educational and child psychologists, inclusion facilitators, and as you can see there are a range of different therapeutic colleagues across the team. There's about sort of 45 to 50 colleagues there, not all full time, but working across, as I say, the age range is from very early years right through up until the age of 25. So staff in our services work across all of these different levels. So we'll either work with a whole school or a whole college, and we'll work for targeted groups, so maybe groups of young people or groups of staff, and then we'll also work with individual children, so perhaps children with additional needs or special educational needs or vulnerable children. Our work overall supports emotional wellbeing, mental health, behaviour and learning, as I say, on this individual, group or whole setting basis. We work directly with children and young people, and we also equally work with the staff or the families who care for or work with the children and young people. So this slide really shows you the variety of sort of activities that we take part in, or areas of work. So the psychologists or any of those staff that I showed you before might be working with colleges or schools on training. They might be delivering consultation or assessments for children with special educational needs, education healthcare needs assessments, or part of the statutory annual review process. We'll be part of shaping interventions, so maybe group interventions or individual. So that would be sort of maybe some therapeutic activities or some activities to support young people's learning. We work with staff, so we can work on supporting staff wellbeing and sort of clinical supervision. We take part in research, and we often work with the whole college or the whole educational setting, looking at perhaps, say for example, some of our work might be around attachment aware schools or attachment aware colleges, or trauma informed, whole sort of setting approaches. We take part in projects, so one of them being the Ipswich Opportunity Area project. So at the moment we're taking part in training mental health leads in colleges, in schools across Suffolk. We have a website, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. We have a YouTube channel, so we'll share some of our either little short clips, so we've got some on our channel around supporting mindfulness activities, or we'll be sharing kind of like maybe some learning modules for staff, and we have a whole range of resources, a lot of which we've co-produced with Suffolk Parent Carer Network, and I'm going to share them. I'm going to signpost you basically to the web pages where those resources are in a moment. But again, this is just to give you a sort of flavour of the range or the type of activities that we would be taking part in. One of the programmes that we're working on at the moment is all to do with supporting young people, families, staff, and taking this whole school or whole college approach to wellbeing in education. So what we've done is we've set up a website, and I'm going to show the link in a minute. And we've kind of got 4 main areas, which are the 4 main areas showing on the slide here. And I wanted to really show today the family wellbeing pages. So I'm going to just do that now. So with the wellbeing in education work, basically we're working with a range of other psychology services. So we will work with the Norfolk and Suffolk Foundation Trust Psychology in Schools team, and we're working with mental health support team. And what we've done is we've collated all of our resources and put them in this one place. And I'm showing you the page here that's linked to workshops for parents and carers, a range of resources for family wellbeing. We're signposting to other mental health support services, and there's a whole range of kind of like videos that you might find useful. And basically they're sort of on this page, so if you followed that link or typed that link into your browser, you would be able to find this information. And again here, I'm not expecting you to necessarily be able to read all of the small print here, but it's really just reminding me to share with you the range of different resources. So some of these are resources that you can see as kind of like one-page kind of tips for families, or little booklets around sleep, advice for like young people and for adults. I'm showing you we have the YouTube resources, so they can be from 5-minute activities or mindfulness kind of exercises, right through to sort of training sessions or workshops for families that are either live or pre-recorded. And all of this information is basically on those pages, the wellbeing education pages. And there's also more information, so for example about sleep, on the psychology and therapeutic service pages, which is the suffolk.gov.uk/PTS. Thank you so much for listening today, and hopefully that's been useful, showing you a little bit more about our services, who we are, and giving you a sort of flavour overview of what we do. As I say, there's much more information on those main two web pages that I've showed you during this presentation, and you'll be able to find out more about what we do and kind of like show you our contact details on there as well. Okay, thank you. Bye.
I'd like to thank everybody who's contributed this evening to the cyber safety event at 1. Hopefully you found the information informative and useful. We'll be posting a recording of the event onto our Suffolk One website, as well as the contact details from the various contributors to this evening's sort of cyber safety event. Thank you, and hope you have a good evening.